out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Ember.
Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
That, hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, probably. I assume it's Wednesday because this is the third show this week. Well, it's the third one of these shows because we did a bonus show last night, which I realize is not actually visible to many of you folks. So I'm gonna bring it up real quick here once I find the dang thing. It was a test stream. We're testing out call-in show functionality. I'll bring it up on screen. Bring it up, Ember. Bring it up. Bring it. There we go. There it is. And I'll put a link in the chat in case anybody wants to check it out. AJ and I went for an hour. The test seemed to go pretty well. We took 3 calls and everything worked. The Chiron's a little blurry. The top piece is a little big. I think I fixed both of those. But we're gonna give it a real go, probably on the Java and Jugs channel. So make sure you're subscribed there. Keep an eye out. We're gonna try to put some real call-in shows out. It should be neat. I'm so excited because I've been trying to get this to work for ages, and there's always some kind of problem, like bringing in the audio from the call service. The phone service that a lot of the big call-in shows use is very expensive. And as you know, I'm very poor. So that just was never an option. So I've been trying to find workarounds and ways to make it go. I think we finally got it. And we did the test last night. It was pretty great. So nothing serious there. That it's unlisted because it was a test. But if you really want to check it out, it's there. But do keep an eye out for these shows appearing in the YouTubes very, very soon. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited because I actually feel a little bit better today. Yeah. So my housemates woke me up early, making as much loud noise as they possibly can. Honestly, it's like living with toddlers again sometimes. You know, when my older kids were younger, they would actually do that thing where they'd grab the pots and pans and go up and down the hall, banging them together just to make noise. It feels like that sometimes. But it didn't really upset me because when I woke up, my hip didn't hurt. Which was a nice change. Oh goodness. It's almost like if you've ever had a severe toothache and then one day the toothache like subsides a little, there's still other pain and things, but that thing that's been bugging you in particular is removed, and it like it changes your neurotransmitters, right? It's a whole thing. Anyway, I'm completely off topic. It's a bit of a challenge, I suppose, to start with the tangents first thing in the morning, because, we start with like 9 people waiting, and then I go live and it drops to 8 as soon as it starts. And then I say something ridiculous in the chat, like I will definitely not talk about marsupial genitals. And it drops to 6 during the countdown. And then I start talking about hip pain and it drops to 5. I'm seeing how many people I can drive off before I actually get to the topic. But good news on that note, I have another thing to show y'all. This was a thing that I found last night. Well, I didn't find it actually. In between, I was actually setting up the assets for the call-in show, and I work better when there's like sound happening in the background, and I could have been a responsible person and put on an audiobook, but instead, since I already had YouTube open, I came across a streamer who was just there talking about woke sounding shit. So I put this person on. It's a streamer named D'Angelo. You may be familiar with them. Really charming stream. Not only did I get like really woke takes, but in the wrap up, they were talking about how they wear a big black ring, and people were like, "Are you ace? Like, are you ace?" Because that's a symbol that asexual people sometimes use. Is a big black ring. Not always, and it's not exclusively ace people. So don't think it's like a definite thing, but it can be an indicator. And TLDR, they ended up coming out of the closet as both ace and non-binary, though with a preference for he, him pronouns. So I should say he, but I'm bad at my job. In any case, like, he just came out by the end of the stream. And then all of a sudden, all the rainbow flags and people like, oh my God, I'm, people just dropping their identities in chat. And he was like, holy shit, where did all these queer people come from? Is this a DEI stream? So it was just great. It was great. But during that stream, he happened to show a thing. It was this thing. It's the scale of wealth. And I was very amused. And this actually may have some relevance because we're about to talk about fake conservatives. So we got to scroll sideways for this one. So we're going to go sideways here. Now, this 1 pixel, this is called the 1 pixel wealth model. $1,000 is a single pixel. So $63,179, which was the median household income at the time when this was made, is 63 pixels ish. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. That's the annual income for the median U.S. household. That's $1 million. I'm so bad at side scrolling. That's $1 million. It's pretty big compared to the median income. And, you know, it's 1,000 pixels. That's what it is. It's 1,000 pixels. To show how big a billion is, it's 1,000 of the 1 millions. Like, a billion isn't just orders of magnitude larger than a million. It is ridiculously larger than a million. It's fucking unreal. But it gets worse. This is the wealth of Jeff Bezos, which at the time was 139 billion. Now, check this shit out. It just goes and goes and goes and goes, and it keeps on going. Now, there's a reason I'm scrolling, because it's so vast that the person who designed this was actually able to fit other vast amounts of wealth inside this vast amount of wealth, just to illustrate further how vast it is. The text says Jeff is so wealthy that it is quite literally unimaginable. And we can scroll a little faster to get to the next section, because it just keeps going. We rarely see wealth inequality represented to scale. This is part of the reason why Americans consistently underestimate the relative wealth of the super rich. Like, you saw $1 million. It's a little green square. Every 10 pixels you scroll is $5 million, because it covers the whole vertical. 10 pixels is 5 million. It's unfucking real. Like, that's more money than most of us will ever fucking see in 10 pixels, and it just keeps going. It says, okay, we're coming up on the end now. Going a little faster, because it just keeps going. Lol, just kidding. We're about 1/3 of the way through. Keep scrolling, though. There's more to see. This is just 1/3. Let's put wealth in perspective by comparing it to some familiar things. All of the money you will ever earn in your entire life from the day you were born until the day you die is about $1.7 million on average. That is your entire life. On average, if you're less well off than most, not even that much, vanishes into the wealth of Jeff Bezos. And that was when this was made, which was like 2021-ish, something like that. This is this little tiny square that you probably can't even see is the annual cost of healthcare for a family of 4. Vanishes, even though it's a tremendous expense for the average family of 4. Like, if you put 20 of those together, it's a pretty significant chunk of that 1.7 million from the whole lifetime. The annual pay of the Amazon warehouse worker, it's nothing. It's like, I don't know, 8 pixels. It's probably more than that. It's annual pay. This is the annual cost to house every single homeless veteran. It's a pretty big box. It is a big box. But compared to what we've just seen of Bezos's wealth, and we're not even all the way through it, it's nothing. He could do that. He could fix that problem. He could snap his fingers. And Bezos isn't even the richest, right? He's just there. He could snap his fingers and just end homeless veterans completely with nothing on him. You know, it's ridiculous. It's so vastly ridiculous. And these guys like Bezos, like Musk, like Zuckerberg, they just keep getting richer and richer. This is the annual cost of chemotherapy for all cancer patients. All of them. It's $9 billion. It's quite a lot. But in 2018, Jeff Bezos made $9 billion in about 40 days. And that's 2018. It's a little bit more now. Like, this is a lot of money, no question. But it's just a fraction of Bezos's wealth. Even the fortunes of the very rich people are dwarfed by the incomprehensible wealth of the 0.001%. Because there are like, we make a big deal out of, the richest rich people. The top 10% controls 85% of all the money. The top 8 control 85% of all the money in the top 10%. It's something like a quarter of the world's entire money supply is controlled by 8 people. It's wild. So this is the wealth of Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon, about $50 million, which back in the day was pretty fucking rich. And it still is compared to most of us. The wealth of Beyonce, 400 million. Barely registers on the Bezos scale. The wealth of Apple CEO Tim Cook, 625 million. Like, he is stupid rich. And yet, it is nothing compared to Bezos. Lifetime earnings of a doctor, 6.7 million. Nothing. Lifetime earnings of a lawyer, on average, 4 million. Nothing. Lifetime earnings of a hedge fund manager, who you'll note is both more than a doctor or a lawyer, because here's the difference. The doctor and the lawyer do stuff. The hedge fund manager is a parasite. They extract money from civilization. That's what they do. That's how they operate. And our civilization is set up to benefit the parasite class much more than everyone else. And that's a function of what we're going to get into in today's video. But the hedge fund manager is still just a regular parasite, right? So he draws way more than a whole gaggle of doctors. Tim Cook is a capitalist. He draws way more than the hedge fund manager, but he's still doing a normal thing, right? Like, CEOs make way too much fucking money, but it's still within the realm of reality. He's stupidly rich because Apple products are like ridiculously overpriced, but it's still within the realm of normal society. He's what you might call an exploitative capitalist. Bezos is a whole other category. Like Musk, like Zuckerberg, like so many others. He isn't just a parasite. He's in a new evolved form, a kind of super parasite. A type of ultra capitalist, like not even a robber baron. It's more like a robber emperor at this point. And it's only made possible because of neoliberalism. Now, this goes on for quite some time. Like, the wealth is so ridiculous that the people with this much wealth, they don't even comprehend how much money they have. They don't even know. To them, it's just a scoreboard. It's, oh, Elon has this much, I have this much, Zuckerberg has this much, that sort of thing. No single human needs or deserves this much wealth. Like, that, it finally ended. That is more than some nations. To have more money than an entire nation. To be able to end world hunger permanently and still be one of the wealthiest humans ever in all of recorded history is a stupid amount of money. And the fact that they don't end world hunger permanently is monstrous. Like, even if the point is to have a legacy, to leave this impression, to have your name be sung about for generations to come, ending world hunger would do that, bestie. People would remember you for fucking ever. You'd be bigger than Jesus because we could show you existed. And I'll say this now. If ever a stupid rich person ever decides to just wave their magic wand and end world hunger, I will say that person is better than Jesus. Jesus fed 5,000. St. Nicholas fed 60,000. But Jeff Bezos, or whoever it turns out to be, fed billions. I will set aside all the bullshit they've done, all the egocentric, the buying an entire European city to have a wedding in. If they end world hunger, I don't care. They can have whatever lavish nonsense they want because they're as close to a living saint as this world has ever seen. I don't even care if they do it for their ego because it helps people. But that's not a thing the neoliberals are capable of thinking of. Because when we say conservative, we don't mean conservative. There aren't any conservatives anymore. It's neoliberals. They took over. So let's find out what the hell that means. But first, if you're new here, please take a second, hit the subscribe button. It helps a lot. I'm having a great deal of trouble fighting the algorithm, and your help goes a long way. And also, do take a second before you sail off to a European city for a private wedding sort of thing. Remember, the ocean is not drinkable. If you're short on drinking water, we can help. Hey folks, I've been working hard on my health, and so far I've lost over 140 pounds. A huge part of good health is hydration. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Epic Water Filters. Check this out. Not only can you say goodbye to expensive bottled water, but these filters are made in the US, so no tariffs, and they're made to fit your life. From these lovely pitchers I can fill from, to sink units, to portable filters that fit in your reusable bottle. With Epic, I can refill from nature's water sources and not have to worry about bacteria and whatnot. But also, send back a used filter to be responsibly recycled, and they'll send you a free replacement, saving you and the earth even more. Want to save a ton of money, be healthier, and build a better world? Head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't settle for random water. Upgrade to Epic. Hell yeah. I had to turn down my heater. It is a fantastic heater, and big thanks to the person who sent it. But sometimes it gets a little overactive. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather be slightly too warm than much, much too cold. But still, sometimes I have to turn it down. All right. Now to the point. What the fuck is a neoliberal? So let's go to Stanford and find out what the actual, university description is. It'll be fun. What could possibly go wrong? So this is an article from 2021, which means it probably hasn't been corrupted by the Trump administration yet. Though not all scholars agree on the meaning of the term, and that's important to note. There's disagreement on what defines a neoliberal. It is now generally thought to label the philosophical view that society's political and economic institutions should be robustly liberal and capitalist, but supplemented by a constitutionally limited democracy. Now, that phrasing is important. There should be a democracy, but the democracy part should be constitutionally limited. Not the government should be constitutionally limited. Not the capitalists should be constitutionally limited. The democracy, the voice of the people, should be the thing that's limited. There's a reason for that. Because when you have actual democracy, you can't have exploitative capitalists, not in the way we see today. It doesn't work. But you can't just ban democracy entirely, because that's how you get revolts. No, the thing to do is to let people pretend they have a voice, to give them a few unimportant levers of control, like what color paint they want on their highways, for example. In fact, it makes the capitalists' jobs easier by offsourcing the need to take care of those pesky cities and hospitals and schools and things. Let the people handle that themselves. We just take advantage. And a modest welfare state. Now, modest, some people have different views on that than others. Reagan, for example, was very much opposed to any welfare programs. Other neolibs were a bit more in favor. I don't know that it's necessarily a plank of the platform, but what do you mean by modest? Do you mean modest as in something that is sufficient to needs, Or do you mean modest as in as minimal as you can get away with? Or something else? So recent work on neoliberalism, words are hard. Recent work on neoliberalism, thus understood, shows this to be a coherent and distinctive political philosophy. The coherency is debatable, as is shown elsewhere in this article, a little bit further on. This entry explicates neoliberalism by examining the political concepts, principles, and policies shared by F.A. Hayek, Milton Friedman, and James Buchanan, not the former president James Buchanan. He is very dead, I assure you. All of whom play leading roles in the new historical research on neoliberalism. And that's an interesting thing. This is a thing that came to fruition within living memory. There's still people alive who were there to witness it happen. But it's not academic unless historians are looking back at it, trying to reconstitute what happened. Isn't that interesting, the way we go about things? All of whom wrote in political philosophy as well as political economy. Identifying common themes in their work provides an illuminating picture of neoliberalism as a coherent political doctrine. And again, coherency is somewhat questionable. After outlining some inadequate characterizations of neoliberalism, this entry critically discusses neoliberal attitudes towards liberalism, capitalism, democracy, and the welfare state, and ends with a discussion of common criticisms. Now, as you can imagine, there are a lot of popular criticisms of neoliberalism, a big part of them coming from neoliberals themselves who don't know that they are definitionally neoliberals. Because none of the people in politics today understand anything about how politics works, or political philosophy, or political science, or economics, or anything else you would want an elected official to be conversant with. C'est la vie. Okay. So first, explicating, which is like explaining, but with an extra syllable to make it sound fancier. A challenging term. And you know, this is our outline. And the cool thing is it's a clickable outline. So you can click on capitalism, liberalism, democracy, etc. like that, if you really, really want to. So I'll put a link for that in the chat too, in case anybody else wants to click around later. We only have a short time together today, so I'm going to be skipping through some things because it's a lot. Stanford is not brief. They much prefer thorough. So I do want to get to the criticisms, especially the idea of trickle down, that sort of things. Oh, feminist criticism. Yes, there's so much good stuff. But first thing first, let's identify what the fuck we're talking about. Bloop. For many years, the term neoliberalism has been in search of a referent. Is neoliberalism an ideology that fetishizes the market? Or is it a political program aimed at establishing the rule of the capitalist class? Is neoliberalism the enemy of the state? Or does it favor the state to sustain the conditions for competitive markets? Rajesh Venugopal, I'm probably close. My apologies to Rajesh. I'm American, I can't pronounce things, has argued that neoliberalism is now widely acknowledged in the literature as a controversial, incoherent, and crisis-ridden term, even by many of its most influential deployers, such as Michel Foucault. I know the name Michel Foucault. Different thing for another time. Venugopal's assessment was arguably apt just 10 years ago. And I tend to agree. It is widely acknowledged in the literature as a controversial, incoherent, crisis-ridden term. Absolutely, yes. Because it's self-defeating. It's parasitic. And it's parasitic to the point that it can and will kill the host. As far as, you know, the metaphor goes. One of the benefits of the way we do societal evolution is that when we try something new, if it doesn't work, then that fails. And the populace who survives that social experiment get blended into the other existing societies. Neoliberalism is so damaging. It literally threatens to be an extinction level event for humans. And that's not fear-mongering. That's not, oh, one of these fuck nuggets is going to start World War III. That's one of these fuck nuggets is going to bankrupt the planet, and our economic system will fail. And then our agricultural system will fail. And when that happens, we're going to have a very bad time. Maybe some of us will survive. Maybe. Could you survive as a hunter-gatherer if society ended today? How long would you live without antibiotics? How long would you live without insulin? How long would you live without the ability to grow crops? Because here's the thing. We're industrially reliant at this point. We have been using chemical assistance to prop up our ability to farm for so many years. There is very little soil that is actually arable without chemical assistance. And without those industrial processes to produce fertilizers, you'll be lucky to get wheat to grow, let alone anything else. It's a thing to keep in mind. Several recent book-length treatments of neoliberalism, such as Bergen 2012, Biebrucher 2018, Slobodian 2018, and White 2019, have helped give form to an arguably inchoate political concept. Now, it's worth noting the people who started neoliberalism, who coined the term and put it out there, did have a specific political philosophy in mind. They wanted to supplant existing conservatism, which did at the time involve actual conservation efforts, with a version of liberalism so antithetical to classical liberalism that it could be defined as its own thing. In other words, they replaced conservatism with even more liberal liberalism, but only in the economic sense. The economics was all that mattered. And they did it by putting themselves up as the liberals are the enemy. We're the enemy of the liberals. Therefore, we're the real conservatives. And the classical conservatives, the Roosevelt conservatives, the Eisenhower conservatives, even the Nixon conservatives, all got shoved aside to make way for the neoliberals. Amazing. In the last decade, extraordinary efforts have been made to historicize neoliberalism and its prescriptions for global governance, to transform the political swear word or anti-liberal slogan into a subject of rigorous archival research. Along similar lines, Thomas Biebrucher, my apologies, Thomas, I cannot pronounce things, argues that neoliberalism no longer faces greater analytic hurdles than other political positions like conservatism or socialism. And I really like that this explicitly is showing that neoliberalism is not conservatism, is not socialism. It's its own thing. Jester says, I'll be on the same bus as Ember. She said so herself. Where are we taking buses to? I may have missed that part. I'm scrolling. I'm hoping. I'm not seeing a thing about buses. I don't know. I probably need more coffee. Okay, in fairness, I definitely need more coffee. It's been a pretty okay morning. I mean, I woke up early. I was in less pain than usual. I managed to get a shower in, and in the morning, that's hard to do. And I had breakfast. I've got my coffee. I literally, because we're doing neoliberals, to annoy the people in power, I went with my punk outfit, which is basically just a denim vest and my hat with all the buttons and things. I decided to go with that. And then I sat down and I'm like, I actually feel kind of cute today. It's a shame that more of the usual folks aren't here because, I mean, it's not every... I'm not going to tell other people how to feel about how I look. I realize that I am a 5 on a good day, but compare that to the fact I used to be a -3. I feel pretty good about that, you know? Anyhow, I digress. I'm trying to buy time for me to take a drink, which is difficult to do when it's just me. Like I could play a short ad, I suppose. Like this one isn't quite long enough.
Are you about to engage in blasphemy?
But something like that people saying my name thing from the opening of the show, that might be long enough to take a sip or two with.
Ember.
Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great Ember, tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
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 We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
That, hey, Ember is hot.
I'm very tickled. Also, I feel like I missed an opportunity to not wear that green dress. I mean, yes, the reason I picked this outfit stands, but like the green dress would annoy the fuck out of the fake conservatives. So, you know, it's a whole thing. Anyway, there's other things I could pick for short breaks, but it's all good. It's all good. That's right. Yay, blasphemy. So Brentley was reviewing a video, Brentley over at Punk Apostate. He was going through some video, some random apologist, and they happened to have that clip. And Brentley's like, I need that clip. And I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. So because I had the ability at the time, I found it, I snatched it, I sent it to Brentley, but I kept a copy for myself because that is a damn good clip. I love it. So now Brentley and I have the same clip, but it's for good reasons because it's hilarious. Okay, in the light of this recent historical work, we're now in a position to understand neoliberalism as a distinctive political theory. Well, theory as in model. Neoliberalism holds that a society's political and economic institutions should be robustly liberal and capitalist. But we read this part already. Did I scroll back accidentally? I feel like I scrolled back accidentally. Or maybe it's just repeating. I guess it's just repeating. It's fine. Yeah, we'll just go up ahead a little bit. While neoliberals typically think government should provide social insurance and public goods, they are skeptical of the regulatory state, extensive government spending, except when they're giving money to themselves, and government-led counter-cyclical policy. Thus, neoliberalism is no mere economic doctrine. According to Berbercher, it explicitly addresses the non-economic preconditions of functioning markets and the interactive effects between markets and their surroundings. Now, it's important to note that as an economic theory, there is something to be said for neoliberalism, at least as the validity of a position. But it's super, super, super important to keep in mind that economists are only interested in the economic portion of it because they're economists. That is just a tiny sliver of what neoliberalism is actually about. Such as, I am just a tiny sliver of the wonderful people who appear on this channel from time to time. For example, here is another wonderful person.
Hello.
Hello, Lil. How are you?
Okay, it's been a morning, but
it has.
Here,
I'll turn the names on so people can know who you are, because clearly no one would know otherwise.
No, never. It's not like I don't have my own emoji or something here.
I know. People would be like, who's this person on screen? And why is there this weird emoji? Thank you, Jester. It's oh goodness. So thoughts. You're a very political person. What are your thoughts on neoliberalism before we dive deeper into the academic lore?
I don't like neoliberals, to be honest. Neoliberals tend to, especially today, when I hear people use the term, they tend to refer to I say old school Republicans, but like the Bush Republicans, the never Trumper Republicans, and like half of the Democratic Party. Because it's like they tend to be much more pro-war, especially they tended to back the crap in Iraq. And like they're game for government programs, but they're still like, we'll see on that. We'll see how it works. Like basically, neoliberalism is what got us Obamacare with no public option, or Medicaid for all, which I would have much preferred.
Even then, that's I think it's giving it too much credit. Because it was neoliberalism that forced us into that compromised position. If it had been just classical liberals and classical conservatives, I think it's likely we would have ended up with something very much like the Square Deal or even the New Deal. Like, we got Social Security the last time. This time we could have ended up with a universal payer.
Yeah,
it was the neoliberals who skewed the entire discussion.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's because there's so many people who kind of acquiesced to that it's that the view of who is a neoliberal has shifted and is now broader than like it probably traditionally was. Because I remember back in Bush's terms, there was neoliberal and neoconservative, and then you have what was kind of considered the fringes on either side. It's just now like nowadays when people refer to a neoliberal, they usually refer to somebody who is center, maybe slightly center right, maybe and mostly like center left, where there's all that crap going on. So
yeah, I as Resist Oppression and a few others have pointed out, Clinton was a neolib. So like we had Reagan was a neolib. Bush Sr. was a neolib. Clinton was a neolib. Like the parties, this is why people get the impression the parties don't actually matter, because they're all in the same club regardless of which color tie they wear. There are differences though. Like there is a difference.
Yeah.
Reagan tried to kill us on this flag. Like he did his level best to wipe us off the face of the planet. Clinton didn't. There are differences.
There are differences. I just think that the people who, whenever the actual neoliberals propose a plan, and they're like, yes, let's go for that. It's just like they kind of get chucked in that box too. And frankly, I think that's kind of fair. Because if they're going to just do that and like not argue against it or not fight back against it, then what's the point?
Now, what are your thoughts on this? Because I've been presenting neoliberalism as basically the fertile soil, if not the intentionally designed engine, to make the super capitalists, the parasite class like Bezos and Musk and whatnot, to make that possible. Neoliberalism has either been engineered to do that, or it's been a side effect of the incoherency of the policies they put forward. But what about this as a possibility, whether it's intentional or an inevitable outcome of the short-sightedness of neoliberalism? Communism. The Cold War, the Red Scare, we need to be not as pro-American, not as pro-democracy as possible. They took the wrong lesson from the totalitarianism of the Soviet state. Instead of focusing on the totalitarianism part, they focused on the economic system. And they said, in order to be not Soviet as much as possible, we need to be hyper-capitalist. We need to just throw people bodily into the machinery of making other people rich.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
cause, but like a potential major influence on how the philosophy got
Potentially, yeah.
formulated?
Yeah, because I mean, it's that, and then it also the whole Red Scare and Cold War thing is also how, just to kind of parallel it, is also how we got like in God, One Nation Under God in our Pledge of Allegiance, and like in God We Trust and all this stuff, is because they were seen as like, oh, they're godless, blah blah blah. We need to be super religious. Like it all kind of all of this kind of ties back to fighting the Cold War, and instead of, like you said, just focusing on the totalitarian part of it, they literally focused on just about everything else. They didn't give a shit about the totalitarian part at all. They focused on pretty much everything else.
It seems to me they saw the oligarchy supporting the party and they went, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
So let's distract people with the bullshit economic thing. It doesn't really matter whether you go hardcore super capitalist or totalitarian communism, you still end up with the richest people having the most power.
Yeah.
Which is the point. They all want to rule. Nobody's interested in the well-being of the fucking people, which is why none of them should be allowed anywhere near government. And someone else, where was it? Dusty said, Reagan set this up and Obama didn't hold them accountable. Of course, there's more to it than that, but that kind of is the problem. Like we see with our current situation with the second Trump administration. You know, Biden followed Trump, and in the interest of politically playing nice, never held Trump accountable for the crimes he did. And as a consequence, because the liberals, what passes for a left wing here, they don't ever drag the Overton window back. They just preserve the status quo. In a very real respect, they're politically conservatives. They don't ever want to change anything for the better. They just want to preserve whatever is right now, you know? Yeah. And that's catastrophic because when you've got first of all, a two-party system is stupid to begin with, but whatever, we're stuck with it for now. But when you've got one side who keeps taking the building of your society and blowing up the lower floors for more raw material for the upper floors, you need to stop them. And having the other group of people just plugging their ears and going, la, 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 just move to the middle of the building.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Your building is going to gradually collapse.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, yeah, it comes back to especially people who I would have considered on my, because like the first election I was able to actually vote in was 2024. So when Obama came around, like I was with everybody else, I was like, oh, this might actually change some stuff, X, Y, and Z. Biggest disappointment ever. Because I'm just like, and yeah, like they said that they didn't hold them accountable, and like the entire society at this point is flat out collapsing because of it. I mean, even the stock market that our dictator has praised nonstop since he got into office is like headed down like mad right now. So congratulations, he destroyed the country. He didn't start it, but he's definitely finishing it.
So I've got a bonus show planned. I may do it later today. Kelly King, our other frequent co-host, she's planning to do a show shortly after this one wraps. And then of course our friends over at the Humanity Live will be doing their show later tonight. But somewhere in that space in between, I'm hoping, not promising, but hoping I'm going to do my next bonus show, which is going to be about the shenanigans surrounding Greenland. But I did notice that in today's news, as the story continues to develop, the markets are fucking tanking.
Yeah.
In large part over Greenland, sort of.
Because, and part of it is because, of course, Trump's put even more tariffs on Europe, but also Europe's basically come out and said, like, if you guys keep this up, like, we'll just stop trading with you entirely, which would be absolutely devastating for us. I mean, it would be devastating for them, but it's basically the way how I heard it explained to me is it's like essentially their last big non-military thing they can do to try and essentially coerce a country into doing it. Was originally developed for them trying to deal with China. And this is what I heard, so I haven't had a chance to verify all this, but that because they had this and they're calling it the trade bazooka, that essentially if you keep this up, we just won't trade with you at all. I mean, that's gonna fuck our economy like mad, more than it already is. Kip has
Yeah, and that's by design, of course, because the leaders of the other countries know that's not going to affect the, turd in chief at all. But it'll affect the people so severely that we will do a regime change, at least in theory. To my knowledge, it's never actually worked. Like the people, I don't know what the hell it is. Like a couple hundred years ago, people were rebelling left and right. Marie Antoinette says, let them eat cake. It's not like the people were even actually starving. They were just having shortages of staple things like bread. It wasn't at the point of starvation. And the rulers were still all blasé about it. And the guillotines came out. Now their people actually are starving or dying from lack of access to medical care or dying from homelessness. In the homeless population of the United States, if you put them into a state, would be the second most populous state, barely behind California. It's unreal how many homeless people there are.
Yeah.
And, it's no shock to me. I was homeless for 8 years. I'm only not homeless because a couple of gay dudes I know who wanted to get married needed an extra income to be able to afford a place, because you can't afford a place with just 2 incomes anymore. But I digress.
Yeah. Although
it wasn't a social program. It wasn't accessibility options. It wasn't economics. I was working 3 fucking jobs and I was still homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like me trying to find my own house or my own apartment right now is just no, like it's not happening. And like most of my friends who are even my age, like they either have roommates or they live with family because you just can't afford it on your own. Like you just can't do it. It's absurd.
Yeah. You know what I think would actually help? Real conservatives. Like, not neocons, not neolibs pretending to be conservatives, not evangelicals. More on them in just a second. All those of you who've been here a while know what's coming. Teddy Roosevelt conservatives. The conservatives who believed the American way meant everyone gets a vote. The conservatives who believed that national parks were a benefit to everyone,
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's one of those things that if you get one party rule over something with zero opposition from the other side, it doesn't matter which side you're on. It usually doesn't end very well. You usually get into a situation where things get pretty dire. So I will say one thing though, the Marie Antoinette quote, the let them eat cake, she probably never said that.
I've heard that rumor, yes.
It's
debated.
Was it James? It was somebody who wrote the book about a princess who said it when she was like 8. And so she wasn't even like married to the king yet or anything. So it just like, it always cracks me up when people are like, Queen Antoinette said this. I'm like, no, she didn't say it. She probably didn't say it. But yeah, it does fit what was going on. I mean, it does fit what's going on.
Could have quoted a book. We quote books all the time. Not that people in the U.S. would know, because as someone noted earlier, it got away from me in the chat, but someone noted earlier that a third of Americans are both illiterate and stupid. There's a higher, just illiterate is a slightly higher number. What was the latest figure? I could look it up again, but the last time we checked, it was something like 87% of American voters couldn't read past a 5th grade level. Now, that's not illiterate in the way most people think of illiterate, but it's functionally illiterate, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if the number's that high, but it's definitely higher than it absolutely should be, and probably higher than I'm thinking it might be. So,
well, that goes to show, like we've been saying for ages, that the problems with the American educational system aren't problems. They're features, not bugs. They were designed into it. Like the removal of civics classes from most curriculums, the removal of propaganda classes. Like in the 1950s, every school was mandated to have a propaganda class so that you wouldn't fall for the Nazi bullshit, so you wouldn't fall for the Soviet bullshit. The problem was people started seeing through the pro-capitalist bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, we can't have that. How are we going to lie to the people if we teach the people how to not be lied to?
I mean,
so we started stripping out our education.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, like government class was a 1-semester class you took your senior year, and it was one of those classes that basically if you showed up, you passed. Which, yeah, that's just appalling.
Wild.
It shouldn't be like that.
Absolutely crazy. Dusty says, I'm definitely glad that the invention of photography saved so many redwoods and the Grand Canyon and so on. Yes. Like people who'd been there, like Teddy Roosevelt, because he was such a big proponent of the outdoorsiness. He had been to those places. He knew the beauty firsthand. But photography, Ansel Adams in particular, went out and explored and brought back the images to be published in all the magazines and newspapers and things. And people got to see and were filled with wonder. And we're like, well, yes, absolutely. We have to preserve these wonders. This is amazing. Now, Ansel Adams, he was a great artist, absolutely, but he was also doing a job. He was hired by the brand new National Park Service to go and document the parks. So they could have within the national record, within the National Archives, images of what these places actually looked like at the time. Every so often, the National Park Service hires another person for Ansel Adams' job. I applied for it a few years ago. I was so close. I was on the short list. I made it through like 5 rounds of interviews. The deciding factor wasn't photographic capability. It was one candidate lived in Washington, D.C., and the rest of us didn't. I'm like, why does that matter? If you want a photographer to go to all of the national parks, like living in DC, if anything, you'd want to pick somebody who's out west already because they're closer to most of the big ones. you know?
That makes no sense.
I was robbed, but it would have been so cool to be like, I had Ansel Adams' old job, you know? Oh, so close.
That would be so cool.
I mean, I could still go do it. I can't afford to go do it. In any case, I digress. I promised people and it's an ad break. Well, more precisely, it's a supercut of what happens when we let the neoliberals make social policy and then the evangelicals get involved and we end up with what's going on today. Behold.
I have a problem with this stuff being normalized across the spectrum, and specifically, like, why push this on kids? Why introduce this to kids?
I am a depraved wretch. I am a great sinner. I'm a worm, completely undeserving of any love or any grace. I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
You're incapable of being a good person. You're an evil person. You're a terrible person. At the core fabric of who you are. That's why we need laws. We need laws because we're bad people. All of us are bad people.
You can't spell Pride Month without demon. PRIDEMONTH.
If we don't know who the women are, because there are just people, then we won't be able to pull the women up to equality with men.
We have to try to limit the harm. And that means reducing or keeping down the number of people who transition. And that's for two reasons. One of them is that every one of those people is a person who's been damaged. But the second one is every one of those people is basically, a huge problem to a sane world.
Transgenderism must be eradicated.
The LGBT, transgender, grooming our children's minds is a national security threat. We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people.
I will use whatever gives me victory. I don't care about the truth, and I don't care about the law. I care about one thing, the control.
But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president. Then what happened is they rigged the election, and I became president, so that was a good thing.
I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president, but I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
We've been hoodwinked. We've been taken in by an ideology crafted by creeps and then pushed on children.
Stop letting people pressure you into thinking.
If they die, they die.
I want to be ignorant, honestly.
Being a Christian doesn't exclude us from experiencing spiritual dryness.
We're bad people. All of us are bad people.
And if you're experiencing spiritual dryness and don't want to be a bad person, head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 checkout for 15% off. My good, I love doing that. I honestly, I don't know if anyone has bought a single water filter. I haven't heard from them ever since I got the ad approved, but it's so funny.
I love it though.
I'm easily amused anyway. Y'all know that. I'm a silly bean. But alas, today's talk is somewhat less silly. So let's go into some of the criticisms that the economic theorists have managed to nail down. So first up is the ethos. Many criticize neoliberalism for structuring society around the market. There's a comma, but I think it should be a period because that is a complete sentence. Many criticize neoliberalism for structuring society around the market. They do. Yes, and that is a major flaw because while you can prioritize the market, you can have a philosophical inclination that the market leads to greater human thriving. It's still the market serving the humans. Without humans, you don't have society or a market. Prioritizing the market is a death sentence.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. Commodifying market relations and in general manipulating people into serving the ends of what is best for commerce or economic production. Literally our society right now. In this way, neoliberalism builds society around a cash nexus, but unlike full capitalism, neoliberalism does so in a covert way that takes serious scholarly work to demonstrate. I mean, or you could just listen to the neoliberals talk because they will outright say so, you know?
Yeah.
Like they just say it. Neoliberalism itself is not an ethos, as noted above, but neoliberalism might be seen to give rise to an excessively capitalist or transactional relationship between persons. We see that reflected in our society. That's a big thing that therapists are having to deal with, is there's so many people who think that relationships are supposed to be transactional. Because when you live in a world made of transactions, how could you conceptualize anything else, you know?
Yeah.
So while
the harm that neoliberalism has done to our society is Yeah, God, it makes me mad.
Mm-hmm. So while she rejects this characterization of neoliberalism, Jessica White argues that it is often characterized as an amoral economic ideology that subordinates all values to an economic rationality. I tend to agree to a point. Now, again, I do think it is accurate to characterize neoliberalism as a focus on economics to the exclusion of all other priorities. So in that respect, Jessica White and I agree that it does subordinate all values to an economic, well, I would say rationalization rather than rationality, because it isn't rational, it's rationalizing. It's justifying after the fact what you've already decided to believe anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't work, right? Like we've demonstrated in our previous videos focusing on humanism and rights and free speech and other values videos, that you cannot subordinate human well-being. That has to be your top priority, or nothing else even exists. If you want free speech, you have to subordinate that to human well-being, because if you put free speech ahead of human well-being, you create a contradictory situation and end up losing free speech as well as all your other rights.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't deprioritize human well-being, even for the market.
Yeah, I had just seen somebody say, I think it was on Professor Dave's channel, but somebody said, like, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like, those words are in that order for a reason. So, I mean,
yeah.
And I thought that was such a good point. Like, yeah, they're in that reason, because if you have to give up a liberty to save a whole bunch of lives, then you know what? You do it. Like, you can't, the example that I was given is like, you can't be drunk driving everywhere. You just can't do it because it kills people. So
and in fact, earlier generations believed in the importance of preserving human lives to the extent they were willing to give their own. That's what the armies of the past were praised for. That's, Patrick Henry was made into such a great hero because of his whole, I regret that I have but one life to give for my country. It wasn't, I have but one life to give for the market. It wasn't, I have but one life to give for Wall Street. It was for my country, which wasn't even a country at the time. It was just the people. We hadn't even written the we the people part yet,
Mm-hmm. Now it's all hail the market, and you have to bow down and obey the market, whatever the market wants, which is
wait till
generally
it gets taken over by an AI. Holy shit!
Oh, don't give me nightmares today, please.
Did you hear about the Taco Bell AI?
I've heard about it, but I haven't looked into it at all. Like I heard someone mention it in passing.
So Taco Bell instituted an AI for some of their drive-throughs, maybe all of their drives. I don't know. I haven't been to a Taco Bell in ages. But yeah, Jason knows. 18,000 waters. Someone went through the drive-through, the AI fucked up, and it ended up processing an order for 18,000 waters.
Oh my God.
Because there's no human oversight.
That's something that's been a problem with AI, or it's been a fear, but a legitimate fear of AI since I can remember people talking about this, in the 90s, is what happened when there's no human oversight. Is it that hard to have a human look at the order and make sure that the order makes sense? The order might not necessarily be completely right, but that it at least makes sense.
I mean, to deal with teenagers, right? Because ordering 18,000 waters, that's not new. Whomst among us as a teenager has not gotten drunk at a post-prom party and decided it'd be a good idea to go to McDonald's and order 1,000 milkshakes? But a human will say, no, you're drunk, go home, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, like, I have this argument with people over AI all the time. Like, AI has its uses. It does. I kind of put it as, like, it's kind of like nuclear physics. It's neutral. There are some really terrible things that come out of it. There are some really good things that come out of it. But the physics on its own is completely neutral. AI is kind of like, the concept of AI is kind of like that you can use it for bad, you can use it for good. The way that it's being used right now, holy shit, like, let's pump the brakes on it just a little bit, please.
Yeah, it's just the AI we have now, it's just a language model. It's great for making voice recognition software work better. It's fucking phenomenal at that. But it doesn't think. It's not capable of doing that.
Yeah. People think it does, and that's one of the huge issues with it, is people think that, yeah, oh, this thing is like artificially thinking. I can ask it its opinion, get a legitimate opinion. No, it's telling you what you want to hear.
It's what there's a bonus show coming about that too. I'm still not 100% sure. I originally, so first of all, there was a thing that happened last December. Some of you are new. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I don't like to talk about it on this channel in the first place. But a thing happened last December where a longtime friend of the community suddenly lost his shit and decided to rile up an angry mob to send after a bunch of women, minority people, survivors of violence, like just kill them all kind of thing. He's in that supercut that you just watched, but that's neither here nor there. I couldn't understand why the fuck he flipped like that. Why did he go crazy like that? And it wasn't just him. He had like a small group of crazy people with him that were like kind of mutually reinforcing their crazy. So at first I was like, maybe it's mob mentality. But then I was listening to, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell it in this order to try to minimize it, to make it take up the least amount of space in this show. I love to listen to Kalen Conrad because their snark is magnificent. It makes my heart happy, right? One of the things that Kalen has been covering lately is the AI told me to kill subject, right? Which is it's an ongoing story. ChatGPT specifically, but not exclusively, people have been using it as a therapist. It is not a therapist. It has no morals. It has no sense of values. It's just trying to tell you what it thinks you want to hear. You know, it doesn't know how to be a therapist. And so some people, they engage with it and it leads them down this rabbit hole, and eventually it tells them to kill because it doesn't have moral restraints, you know? And some people follow through on it. Now, as Kalen was going through this latest story that they were covering, my apologies, Kalen. They were reading some of the messages that the subject of the video had exchanged with the AI, and they started to sound a little familiar. Like really familiar. The sentence structure, the diction, the word choice. And I was like, hold the fuck on a second. And so I went back to some of the other videos, not just Kalen's, but others about the AI told me to kill, or AI told that person, all that sort of stuff. And it's not, remember, whenever someone talks about killing, it's never just killing. That's just the most dramatic clickbait version of things. It's like when people talk about the suicide rate for trans people. It's not just suicide. That's just the most dramatic outcome. To get to the suicide, you have whole orders of magnitude of unnecessary suffering, you know? So there's more to it than just that. But that's the part that's the tip of the iceberg that breaches public attention and awareness. So I'm going back through these other videos and I'm seeing the same word choice, the same diction, the same sentence structure. Oh no. Oh no. So I came up with a hypothesis. What if what happened with my former friend is an AI told me to kill scenario? Because I happen to know he's said so publicly that he's been using ChatGPT as a substitute for a therapist, which you should not do because it is not a therapist. So I decided to do a science about it. And originally I was going to do a case study research paper because I thought it would be just wonderful to get this information, if it turned out to be accurate, into the academic literature. And also, to be fully honest, it kind of tickled me that I could take a betrayal from a person that wound up in me getting death threats that are still ongoing and turning it into an academic credit. It seemed amusing to me. Poetic justice, sort of. So I drew up my study design. I did all the pros and cons, and that's what the other episode will be about. And again, I don't know if I'm going to, I wrote it as a study, realized I couldn't do a study because I can't afford the submission fees. Here's the thing a lot of people don't realize: to get published in a journal is very expensive. Not only do you need to get accepted for peer review and make it through peer review, but you have to pay huge fees in order to even be considered. There's, depending on the journal, it varies. But the last thing I got published was in the APJ, the Journal of Astrophysics. At the time, it was $400 just to submit, $80 per page, and $160 per graph or image, separate from the per page price. Now, my institution covered those fees at the time. I could not have covered them myself. I don't have an institution right now. I very much cannot cover that kind of fee myself. So a paper was right out there. So it's no problem. We can make it into a video. Now, I'd originally designed it to be a pre-recorded video, like a not a video essay, but like a video study. We're going to do a science, but in video form. But regular videos don't seem to do very well these days. My most recent video is a few weeks old, and it's still the least viewed thing on my channel ever. You know?
I don't know why. It's good.
Say la vie. So I'm considering doing that as a live, but it's not as good as a live because I wrote it as a study and then converted that to a script for a pre-recorded video. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do it that way at some point. The reason I mention all of that is because people using ChatGPT as a therapist. Now, not to spoil the surprise, if I do the extra show, because spoilers don't actually spoil things. I don't know if you know that. There's been studies done on that too. Yeah, ChatGPT definitely played a role in my former friend losing his fucking mind. But we'll get into that another time. What tangents? People come here for the tangents, you know? And that was a big tangent. So I'll get out the tangent shirt. If you also are just here for the tangents, you can get this shirt at betterthanever.com at the store. This one is very cheap. I don't actually make anything on those because I priced it as low as they'd let me, because I am very poor and I know many other people are as well. So that item specifically has no profit margin to it. It is just the cost of the item, but it is there for the people who want it. So, you know, we do have other things that I do make some money on, like the newest item, the Space Pride flag, which after the Trump administration deleted the original, I reconstructed from the photos, the NASA public domain photos that the original was made from, and then added more photos to include the more updated part of the Progress Pride flag. So that's available at the store too, if you want it. It's a print. I'm trying to figure out how to make it into a flag because it would be cool to have it as an actual flag. But even the original NASA version was a print, not a flag. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. But for now, it is available as a print. So, there's other things too. But I'm told I'm bad at marketing because I keep trying to talk about too many things at once. Focus, Ember. Promote the one thing you're talking about. I did 2 just then. I'm still bad at this.
Hey, I like them.
Thank you, Bree. Bree appreciates my craziness.
I think we all do.
One does one's best. Oh my goodness. I have talked so much. The good news is we started slightly early because the show that normally precedes us, our opening act or whatnot, it kind of broke partway through. And so I started early, but like I said, I actually managed to take a shower this morning. I wasn't going to hop out of the shower and get immediately on camera. I was going to finish my damn shower. And then I needed to have breakfast. And that's not a thing I can skip. Some of my medicine has to be taken with food, and it has to be done in the morning. So I had to eat before I started the show. So we started early. Not that early, though. Holy shit. Although now that I think of it, if I put my pretend phone in a waterproof container, I bet I could actually do a show from the shower if I really wanted to. It wouldn't be great quality, but I bet I could do it.
Put it in a plastic bag.
Well, I have like an actual waterproof, because as you may be aware, tangents upon tangents, swimsuits are sort of a big deal for trans people because whichever direction you're going, they can be a problem. I found a swimsuit that I was comfortable wearing, and I was so fucking tickled. So I made a point. My son and I went to the beach this past summer. I haven't been to the beach in forever, and I've never been to the beach for the purpose of going to the beach. It was always to bring the kids, right? But I'm like, because I could never wear a swimsuit. Even before I started my transition, I was extremely uncomfortable with my body. So I always sat on the shore and like played with a drone or played with my camera or something while the kids did the beach thing. This time I went and played in the fucking water, and it was great. It was so much fun, especially since it had been so fucking long. But I don't trust people, or more precisely, I don't trust all people, right? It only takes one asshole going down the beach to steal your phone, So I got these waterproof plastic container things to put my phone in, and my son's phone too, so we could bring them with us. You put it around your neck so you don't lose it, and it's fine. And that let me do some cool underwater photos it's just one of the Great Lakes. It's not like we saw sharks or coral reefs or anything, but it was still fun, So I do have a waterproof thingy, is the point. But a plastic bag would probably work too. I don't know.
Me and a friend of mine that lives in Detroit, we have a constant argument over whether the Great Lakes count as beaches or not.
I mean, beach is a beach. If it's made of sand by water, it's a beach. You could have a river with a beach if you really wanted to.
Yeah, technically, yeah. But when I think the beach, I think ocean.
Yeah. Aunt Jur says, for me and everyone, you can wear whatever you want to go swimming. It doesn't have to be a bathing suit. Just don't wear a long flowy dress or boots. I mean, you can if you want to, but it may not work out very well. Oh, goodness. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, you can wear whatever. It does, and some people wear nothing. It's fine. But it's a lot easier to enjoy yourself if you can be comfortable in what you're wearing, So it is kind of a big deal. I wish I could have gone to the beach more often. But as many of you know, I lost my job in June, and I haven't had a regular paycheck since. And the only proper beach near me, it's a state park, which is great. It's pretty. It's well maintained. It has facilities, but it costs to get in. I can't justify the expense, even though it's a low cost. I just can't justify the expense, you know? Like that's the cost to get in is like 3 meals, you know? I can't do that. So, oof. But still, it was great that I got to go the once this past year. Okay, yes, as I was talking about the time, and then Devian is like, so this stream was about fake conservatives and neoliberals. Right. We should get back to the point. Like I said, people come here for the tangents. It's true.
Yeah.
Our tangents are every bit as good as the thing we're supposed to be talking about. Often better. More fun at least, but I digress.
And Kip opinions.
It's true. Kips do have lots and lots of it. If you want to know more about Kip's opinions, there's a video about that on Lil's channel, Lil of All Trades. If you haven't seen, you should. Go check it out.
That's good AI.
Is there AI in that?
I'm assuming the photos that she used of me, Kip, and the other Kip. I'm assuming that's AI because I know the pictures that those were based on, and then I would assume some of the graphics and stuff are. I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume there's some in there.
I don't know.
I know the pictures are because they're like cartoon versions.
Well, just because a thing is a cartoon version doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's AI.
that's true.
I mean, it
But
could
it's
be.
so
I don't know. I
good.
wasn't especially looking like, Jason says the Bob's Burgers art. I
Yes.
mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Maybe.
didn't ask. Jess has always been
There we go.
artistic, so I just kind of, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The only
Okay, there's
I
Jess.
heard. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was just the pics. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Jess. Thank you so much. I love that. It is like the best thing ever. It's fantastic.
Was it yesterday you were showing that off? I can't remember.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Yeah. It was yesterday because we did Christian Identity yesterday. So yes, it was yesterday.
Hell yeah. Yeah, very, very good shit. Very good shit. Theo says 3 meals to go swimming. Your food is either super cheap or your public swimming is super expensive. I mean, yeah, like I said, folks, I have not had a regular paycheck in 7 months. I have to keep my food expenses to under $1.50 a meal. I'm mostly manage it, actually, which is weird, but sandwiches, salads, sandwiches, if you done properly, can be surprisingly cheap. The cost per sandwich, that is, right? Because like it's like $4 for a thing of whatever bologna. I like the turkey because it's lower calorie and also it's turkey. A jar of mayo that will last over several sandwiches. I go with the Velveeta cheese because it's lower calorie, but also there's potential other health things involved. It's not important. The point is, all the parts together come out to like $12, $16, and I get several days worth of sandwiches out of it. So even though it's like $12, $16 ish, it comes out to something like 89 cents per sandwich when you work it all out. And even with the salad thrown in, because I get multiple salads out of a single bag, it keeps it under $1.50 per meal, for example. So yeah, that's pro tips on how to be ridiculously poor and not die. Bree says grilled cheese. Absolutely.
Kip says
I kind of want grilled cheese now. Another possibility is and I realize my vegan friends will be mad, but tuna fish sandwiches, right? Like it's 80 cents for a can of tuna, a little bit of mayo and some bread, you know? Aunt Jur says PB&J. Things with bread are on the more affordable side. Garlic bread. It's just the bread and some butter. And some garlic, obviously, but And if you want some garlic bread, if you're here for a fun time, if you want to have a good time, that's a sexual joke for those of you, us ace people. Yes, we sex is fine, I suppose, but there's things I'd rather do, like have some garlic bread. So that's available in the Ember store. All right. I know. Tangents and tangents and tangents. I'm the worst at this. Let's do the thing. Right. Indeed, one might make the more worrisome argument that neoliberalism leads not so much to selfish attitudes, but towards bigoted, hierarchical, and traditional ones. Oh, you don't say. Don't make me play the thing again. One central concern about neoliberalism is that even if it boosts economic growth, which it doesn't actually, it also increases economic inequality, which is problematic in several ways, not the least of which being short-term growth for long-term damage to your entire system, because that's what economic inequality always results in. The more you hurt your bottom layer of people, the less they can spend, and the market suffers. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but it's always a net loss. It's a dust bowl effect economically, you know? You over farm and now you can't farm anymore, you know? So the more well-known empirical criticisms that neoliberal regimes lead to dangerous inequalities just from the data, such as Thomas Piketty's book, Capital, from 2014, which holds that economic inequality is growing and is a threat to democracy. It's a book about capital, and the damage from neoliberals is so extreme that the book about capital makes a point of talking about how the economic inequality is growing and is a threat to democracy. These freedom-loving America First neolibs are fucking over democracy on purpose. What do they think America means, I wonder? Much as Martin Gillen's 2014 work on inequality and the responsiveness of democratic policymaking to the richest 10%, because, you and I can't get universal health care to save our lives, but if Bezos wants permits to launch his own fucking giant penis into space, oh, by all means, Mr. Bezos, let's get those laws and regulations right out of your way,
That's the best way I've ever put that put.
You just now noticing Blue Origin is a giant space penis?
No, but I haven't heard it put creatively that way yet. As creatively.
It's what I'm known for, my eloquent on-the-fly language. Of all the things, I'm hoping one day to be known for being pretty, but for now, I'll take my eloquent on-the-fly language. Oh, let's see. Rawls argues, I'm getting ahead of myself. Why am I ahead of myself? Right. Another critique of inequality under neoliberalism is derived from Rawls's work. As is well known, as all the world knows, Rawls rejected welfare state capitalism and a more robust form of capitalism, which he called the system of natural liberty, on the grounds that they do not satisfy Rawls's own personal two principles of justice. I wonder what Rawls's two principles of justice are. I mean, maybe I'd agree with them. I just think it's weird for him to reject an entire economic system because they don't satisfy things he made up, Rawls even argued that even welfare state capitalism cannot protect the value of political liberty or realize its priority. Really? Because it allows for the accumulation of capital in too few hands. Oh, he means welfare state capitalism as in corporate welfare, as in Walmart, one of the richest corporations on earth, gets more subsidy money from the US government than anything other than an oil company. That kind of welfare. Okay, now we're on the same page. which leads to economic domination of politics and shuts many people out of the goods of owning and operating at least some of the capital they need to enjoy the worth of their constitutional liberties. To example, I can't go to a national park for the same reason I can't afford to go swimming. I mean, also travel is extremely painful for me for other reasons, but even if I were perfectly physically fit, I couldn't afford to go. I couldn't go see Yellowstone today. It's not a huge fee to go in, but there's a fee. I can't do it. Grand Canyon, there's a fee. The Badlands of South Dakota, there's a fee. Actually,
I thought those were supposed to be ours. So why are we paying to go see them?
Well, it's a use fee, you see, for like the immediate operation, something, maintain the roads, maybe. Something like that.
I mean, I think something that might be better to do that on is maybe based on what car you have, what your fee is to get in. Maybe.
I mean, it depends. It depends. So Badlands. This is the Badlands. Remember I said I tried out for Ansel Adams's job? I went to the Badlands. This was one of my submissions. And it happened to come up in my history. It's from like January 11th from several years ago. But as we passed through, my history thing was like, hey, this happened. Do you want to like maybe do a photo from what you're looking at today? And I looked out the window and it was just snow. And I'm like, nope. But I saved the image because this was a cool trip. The Badlands is really like people think, oh, it's just eroding land. Oh no, friends. I mean, the minute you pull into the first pull off so you can look over the landscape, you're going to get attacked by meerkats. They're everywhere. They're probably not called meerkats. Prairie dogs, that's the term.
Prairie dogs, yeah.
Yes, they're everywhere. And
the little
and there's
ships that
rabbits.
carry the plague.
Like, yeah. It's such a thing. And there's fossils. There's fossils that are just there, exposed to the air because the land is eroding, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's
like
just
some
like,
of these layers are millions and millions of years old.
Yeah, and look at that strata too. That's just like, that's so cool.
It's actually very, very colorful. I went with black and white because, again, I was trying out for Ansel Adams' job, but also to show that it's more than just the color. Like the strata are really, really pronounced, but it is actually very colorful.
Choice. Yeah, no, it's a great choice. Because, I mean, even with like people look at the Grand Canyon, they miss all the strata, like looking at it. And it's like, do you have any idea how many years of like Earth history is in this one chunk? Like, it's huge.
And it goes on and on and on and on. Like if you start on the eastern end, you're on the high side, and it'll get lower as you go west. And you'll see like these layers, and you're like, okay, cool. But then when you get to the far side of this ridge, there's another section where it's like another mega layer down, but it's doing the same thing in the layers under that. And then the next section will do it's like hundreds and hundreds of feet of continual erosion through layers and like sets of layers. And there's some places like some of these things in the distance you can see poking out where it's like several extra layers high. And so there's like just fuck tons of layers. It's so cool. And if you make it all the way through, out just across the street from the western entrance of the Badlands in South Dakota is a place called Wall Drug. You'll see signs for the damn thing for hundreds of miles before you get there. It doesn't matter which direction you're coming from. You're going to see signs for hundreds of miles. It used to be a drugstore. Now it's effectively an amusement park shopping mall thing in a single building. It's pretty weird, but also kind of fun. I love the roadside weirdness stuff too.
Oh yeah.
I love to travel. I fucking love it. I hope I can do it again someday.
Yeah, we have the roadside weirdness stuff all over Texas. This is why I always tell people who are coming to Texas, ask a Texan where you should go, because we'll tell you where all the cool stuff is that kind of tends to get missed.
Have you ever been to Fossil Rim?
Yeah.
I heard about
I've
Fossil
been
Rim
all
from
over
a fellow
the state.
photographer. It's, first of all, you go through a time warp, right? Like the last time I went to Fossil Rim, my phone glitched, and all of a sudden it was September of 2001. And I was like, clearly there's like a problem with the local cell signal tower. But just for shits and giggles, I posted to Facebook, and it timestamped the post as being from September of 2001.
Holy crap. That's weird.
I'm like, maybe I actually am time traveling. This is interesting. Because how would you know, right? You're in wherever you are, whenever you are. It's the present. So how would you know, you know?
Yeah.
But Fossil Rim is great because you actually do kind of time travel, not just in the weird phone glitch sense, but it's called Fossil Rim because there's a fuck ton of fossils there. But also, there's a wildlife preserve. Somebody at some point just took a chunk of Africa and brought it into Texas for some reason. And not only does it have the climate of sub-Saharan Africa, but the plants and shit. It's like just this isolated section that is Africa. And there's giraffes and the fucking weird looking gazelle things with the horns that do the weird thing. I know.
Yeah.
I have the best descriptions. I have the best words. No one has ever had words like my words. It's really cool. It's literally just a section of Africa in the middle of Texas for some reason.
Although, if you do come to Texas, you do have to come see the most amazing animal there is. You have to come
The
see Dr.
only dog we know of with a doctorate.
She's sleeping in my lap this entire time, so
hell yeah.
the things I do for my dogs, like, it's nuts. But yeah, oh my god, Texas. I always direct people to go to, if they're going between like Dallas and is it Dallas and Austin or Dallas and San Antonio? I'm blanking right now, but there's a town called West, so it's West Texas. But they have a really big I want to say Czech community there. They have the best kolaches on the planet. Like, you stop there, you have to get kolaches. Like, you have to. It is a rule of Texas. I think it's enforced by law. You have to stop there and get kolaches.
I don't think I've ever driven that way. Maybe someday. I don't know. One of my retirement dreams. Now, I've mentioned before, one of my retirement dreams is to have an orchard because I grew up on a farm. It would be nice to have a farm, but also to have a farm where I don't have to feed the pigs and chickens at 5 a.m. every morning. Maybe an orchard would be nice, yes. But also another one is to just travel, to get one of those big fucking RVs you can like live in.
Mm-hmm.
And just go place to place to place to place to place and see all the things.
Mm-hmm.
It would be pretty neat.
You could spend months in Texas. We've got, like, this is one thing that people don't get about Texas is we've got everything here. People think we don't get blizzards. Amarillo up in the Panhandle, they have blizzards all the damn time. We don't have it here.
I've seen Amarillo's blizzards. They're weak. I've seen Dallas's ice storms. Nothing. Y'all are pansies. You have one snowplow in the state. Fuck off.
But hey, we handle tornadoes like champs.
That's true. Although we're catching up to you on tornadoes. We had 5 last year, which I realize is still rookie numbers, but consider we went from none to 5. We're getting there.
I've lived in two different houses that this has happened in. I've been hit 4 times.
They're following you.
I guess so. I mean, granted, like, I never had a ton of damage. It was like roof damage and like ripped the awning off. One knocked over a huge tree, which I still don't know how that went. Didn't go through my roof, but yeah, living in Tornado Alley, it's tornadoes are rarer than you think, and the storms are awesome, but damn it, they hit you. Holy crap.
Yeah. All right, let's
Tangents.
let's speed run our thing because we're like at time. And as much as I actually do have the bandwidth to linger today, there's other shows that are waiting. So we should probably try to actually finish it. But remember, possible bonus show later, not for sure today, but the odds are good because it's prepared, it's ready to go, and so far I feel okay. So we have pretty good odds of getting a bonus show a little later today. So if you're new here, make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is rung, because sometimes those bonus shows happen without warning, and you need that notification to make sure you catch it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fine to watch them later. I don't mind, but it's much more fun, both for you and for me, to have you in the live chat. I'd love to see you there. Okay. Other criticisms. Undermining democracy. Didn't see that coming, except that's actually the point. But never mind. A very common criticism of neoliberalism is that it undermines democracy. Like, it's just a common criticism. It's just a known fact about it. It undermines democracy. This might be because high economic inequality undermines democracy. Do you think? These philosophers, they're so wise. Another way in which neoliberalism could undermine democracy is by prioritizing the protection of classical liberal economic liberties, like the right to private property. To an extent, like when you're dealing with economic values, it's important to remember you're so removed from the human need that you sometimes forget it's there. But there is a legitimate human need value for private property. There's pluses and minuses. It can be argued, it has been argued, and it should continue to be argued. But the bottom line is people need a safe place they know is safe in order to thrive, you know? These can lead to restrictions on the ability of democratic citizens to choose to redistribute wealth. They said as if that's a thing that could legitimately happen in a country like this country. Now, it is true that other countries can and have done that in the past. Sometimes it's necessary for the greater good of society or the function of the civilization or the continuance of the regime or whatever the case may be. It can and has been done. Here, however, you say the word redistribute wealth, you're a communist and get sent to Leavenworth. You know, it just, even though it should be noted, the largest wealth redistribution in human history is going on right now in the United States. You remember that wealth graph we started with? All that Jeff Bezos wealth. He's not even the biggest, but you saw how ridiculous that is. And if you're joining us partway through, go back to the beginning because it's mind-blowing and you have to see it to understand. That is redistributed wealth. That is parasitism off of the system. There is wealth redistribution. It's just not going to the people who are starving. It's going to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and so forth. The problem is especially acute given Hayek's favorable view of the Pinochet regime in Chile. This gets on to Chile stuff, and that's a whole thing. There's a whole other philosophy about Chile's socialism, non-socialism thing. It's not super important to neoliberalism. I don't know why they get sidetracked. I don't know why another academic would possibly get sidetracked on a tangent. How unprofessional.
Who knows?
Economic irrationality. I know it never happens.
Ever.
We're professionals here. Economic irrationality. Neoliberal regimes rely heavily on market mechanisms, and neoliberals claim that markets are efficient or at least highly economically productive. Well, they are when the neolibs show up, less so when the neolibs leave. Look at the influence of the venture capitalist of your choice on the business of your choice. Holy shit. Behavioral economists, and this is a thing. Economics has like replaced philosophy in some ways because there's economists who subspecialize in every other possible kind of discipline, including effectively psychology, because that's what psychology is the study of behavior. Behavioral economists have identified various biases in human reasoning that undermine the Homo economicus model that's a whole thing. Maybe we'll do an economics episode sometime. I wouldn't bet on it, but maybe we'll do one sometime and we'll talk about Homo economicus. But that's a model. It's like a way to try to pillage some terminology from biology to make this model sound cooler. It's not really a thing though. Anyway, although I do want to note that it points at the entry on bounded rationality. Now that's an interesting concept in political philosophy, bounded rationality. It's taking something that is rational, that makes sense, that logically follows, and making it not do that to create small digestible sound bites that sound rational, but aren't actually, putting limits on rationality to make it stop being so rational so that you can propagandize with it. It's a fun concept that's kind of central to modern American politics. Keynesian rebuttals, neoliberalism, as noted, arose in part in response to the dominance of Keynesian macroeconomic policy. But Keynesians, most notably Paul Krugman, have struck back by arguing that neoliberal criticisms of Keynesian policy fail because neoliberalism is economically fucking coherent. But never mind that. This is especially true because neoliberals often claim that fiscal policy is ineffective stimulus via monetary stimulus. And that's weird because neoliberals are obsessed with fiscal policy, and it's only what the neoliberals would consider the dumbest among them who aren't actually neoliberals except by default through their association with the far right and the evangelicals who favor a direct monetary stimulus, right? Like that's Trump's whole thing, is just throw money at the people and they'll stop starving, which, to be fair to Trump, isn't strictly wrong. You know, give people money and they will stop starving, at least for right now. But better fiscal policy will prevent those kinds of situations, you know? During the Great Recession, Krugman argued that the Federal Reserve had lowered interest rates so much that further monetary stimulus would fail, and so fiscal policy had to intervene. In fairness, there are limits to some of the tools of fiscal policy, but putting all your emphasis on a single thing like the Federal Reserve and interest rate as a control lever, not great. It's like the Indiana Jones mine cart, right? Like it has one lever that kind of works as a brake. That's not really up to the task, you know? So many of the criticisms of neoliberal regimes engaging in austerity during the Great Recession are based on an underlying Keynesian model, as the critics of government spending cuts during the Great Recession were often based on the idea that they hurt the economic prospects of the poor. Holy shit. Whereas according to neoliberals, shrinking government spending during a recession is not harmful to the poor for a variety of reasons, all of them made up, total bullshit, and demonstrably false. But never mind any of that. I do want to note that I realize this article entry is from 2021, immediately after the main thrust of COVID's economic impact. But the fact that they keep referring to the Great Recession, things that happened within the last couple of years, and effectively don't seem to even be aware of previous economic problems like the Great Depression, for example, or the economic collapses that riddled the 19th century, for example. What are we doing? Are we only looking at the last 20 years and calling that all of history?
Pretty much.
It's weird to me. Trickle-down economics. One common charge against neoliberalism, one famous one, this almost made the thumbnail. I decided to go with tear down this wall so people knew it was Reagan I was talking about, but I almost went with trickle-down economics because it's sort of the main thing of neoliberalism, at least in the Reagan era. One common charge against neoliberalism is its false promise of trickle-down benefits of economic growth to the poor from the rich. Strictly speaking, trickle-down economics is not a genuine school of economic thought, nor would Hayek, Friedman, or Buchanan have accepted that description of their views. They did argue that all would benefit from the prosperity brought about through the free market, but this was not necessarily because the rich would benefit first. Hayek argued that there is a kind of trickle-down effect for the prices of goods and services, where luxuries for the rich become commodities for the poor because manufacturers figure out how to produce lower prices to broaden market penetration over time. And indeed, it is a standard in mainstream economics to hold that as businesses accumulate capital, they can afford to pay their workers more, and so can bid workers away from other companies. There are limits to that, though. There should be a big goddamn asterisk there. But the first part, broadly correct. Televisions, for instance. One of the weird things that defies inflation is the cost of a television. And that's because the cost of components has dropped at almost the same rate. Inflation has gone up over the generations, which is why a television today costs almost the same as it did in 1950. Well, 1958, but whatever. The price seemingly hasn't moved. It has moved. It has gone much higher and it has gone much lower. But seen from the level of today, it looks like it hasn't moved because the cost of components has dropped while the inflation has gone up. But this particular screen I'm looking at, which is relatively low quality and I picked up cheaply even at the time years ago when I needed it, was $99. Under $100 for effectively a television screen. Not awful, not great, but not awful. That same amount of money in 1955 is a car, like a whole ass car, you know? Which in today's money, a new car of even basic quality is $25,000, you know? So the fact that television prices coincidentally seem to be stable because the rates of things seem to even out, it does go to demonstrate that the prices of what once was a luxury, like $100. Remember, this was a time when loaves of bread cost a nickel, or a person's daily wage might be $1, you know? $100 for a television? That's rich people shit. But as they figured out how to make it cheaper, they could make it available to more people, sell more, and end up making more money overall, which is exactly what they did. But that's not always what happens. You can't do that with yachts, for example. Apparently, we can't do that with healthcare either. Holy shit. It's wild. So there's a lot. The criticisms go on, libertarian criticisms. Like I said, we can't ever get through all of this. If you want to peruse for yourself, I'll drop the link for this entry in the Stanford Encyclopedia. Anyway, in case you want to go play yourself. But that's the main thrust of it. What is neoliberalism? It's fake conservatism. It's economic focused, but with a backwards, broken, and incoherent economic view that, whether by design or accident, seems engineered for maximal parasitism by the least ethical among us, which is, as it happens, exactly what's happening. But free speech or something.
Oh, yeah. My free speech. Damn it.
Yay. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to thank Maya from Bad Science Sunday. This was her suggestion that we cover what the fuck neoliberalism is, because a lot of people have no idea. They think Trump is a conservative. He's not. He cares about money more than anything. He is a neoliberal, you know? We haven't had a proper conservative in office. I hesitate to go there, but from a purely political ideology perspective, Nixon was the last conservative, and I hate that, but it's true.
No, I agree with that. I completely agree with that.
Just so much. Anyway, any closing thoughts? Jesus, we're at the 2-hour mark. Ember, you need to shut up during these damn shows. At least I'm pretty while I babble. Any final thoughts before we go?
Not particularly. No, I mean, you covered most of it. I would have, so. It's just been
Correct.
crazy watching. Yeah, it's just been crazy watching this shit balloon over the last 25 years. And I mean, it's been going before that, but it's gotten so much worse.
Yeah. As we see the inevitable consequences of the things that people who don't understand what they're talking about have been peddling all this time. Yeah, the things are happening now. Just like all the people who do understand the shit warned us would happen when they started.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, high hopes I know, but maybe people will listen to the people who understand what they're talking about in the future. Like climate change, for example, as the people who know what they're talking about warned us what would happen there. And now we're seeing their predictions start to come true. Maybe we can fucking listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's too late for some coastal areas, but it's not too late for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, first and foremost, economics is an offshoot of ecology. It grew out of agriculture originally, grew out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You need the ecology to have any kind of civilization at all. The money is just an efficiency system. That's all it is. Anyhow, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Lil, for being here. This show is like completely up Lil's alley because it goes into history and politics. Which, if we could figure out how to get black holes in there, this would just be Lil's dream show.
Yeah. We even managed to get Kip in there.
It's true.
So, yeah.
But thank you all so much for joining. Remember, bonus show possibly. We're on to more traditional things for our show for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we're ending the world. What could possibly go wrong? Hope you join us. And as always, remember, you don't have to pretend that bankrupting your entire civilization to make a handful of people so wealthy that they don't even understand how wealthy they are, because you are better than religion. Toodles. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt.